The distance was only about half a mile from the place that Jesus was condemned to the skull-shaped hill where he was crucified. The soldiers pulled off the purple robe, reopening all his wounds. They put his own garments back on him. Then they would have taken a crossbeam, which would have weighed about 100 to 110 pounds. They would have placed it on his back, and then they would have paraded Jesus with the two criminals through the streets of Jerusalem. The Romans liked to make a parade of executions to warn the people not to defy them. It was the same reason that they left the vertical beams of the crucifixion poles in place. It was a constant visual reminder that they were under Roman law. As they paraded the criminals through the streets of Jerusalem, Roman soldiers would hold a plaque carrying the charges of which they were condemned. Jesus is read, "The King of the Jews." Now I want you to picture Jesus at this point. This is the Son of God. This is Jesus Christ. He healed the blind. He raised the dead. By the spoken word, He created everything that exists. He is the Son of God. He has all power, and yet He is God in a physical body. And at this point, His body is so broken, so brutalized. He is so hurt that physically He cannot carry His own cross. The Bible says even the Roman soldiers recognized this. That is significant. And they grabbed a man from the crowd named Simon of Cyrene, and they compelled him to carry Jesus' cross for him. They would have taken Jesus up to the top of that skull-shaped hill. They would have laid Him down and taken nails and put them through the small bones of His wrist. Now, archaeologists have found crucifixion nails outside of Jerusalem. These nails are about 7 inches long, and when they discovered them, they realized that they were different than any other Roman nail that had ever been found, because they had a double lip or a second head. So they would drive the nail into the hand, then that second lip would stand up. And they were able to use something like a crowbar to pull that nail out when it was time to take the victim off the cross. As they drove the nail through His hand, it would have severed the median nerve. The median nerve is the largest nerve in the human hand. Severing that nerve causes extreme pain, a burning sensation, and permanent paralysis in the hand. Then they would have nailed His feet to the cross, either by putting both feet together and driving one nail through both, or sometimes they would put the feet on the outside of the cross and drive a nail through each ankle. They would have lifted Jesus up. In history, they wrote about how from a distance you could hear the joints popping, because within minutes your wrist would dislocate, and then your elbows, and then your shoulders. There's a reason why the Psalm says all of His joints were out of place. This is why crucifixion was so painful, because to breathe, you had to pull your entire body weight up on the nails through your hands and to push up on the nail through your feet to give your lungs the room to expand so that you could inhale and exhale. And all the while, your arms are becoming more fatigued. Eventually, the muscles in your chest would begin to spasm. And finally, your arms would become paralyzed. And you would simply be pushing up on the one nail through your feet to simply have a breath. This is why crucifixion was so excruciatingly painful. The Persians created crucifixion, but the Romans perfected it. They would position your body on the cross in such a way that it was impossible for you to survive. You would slowly suffocate, and the pain of your death would be amplified. In fact, our English word excruciating comes from the word crucifixion. Isaiah 53:5 says, "But He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought our peace was on Him, and by His wounds we are healed."